Quay tightened his grip on his spear, the rough wood biting into his calloused palms, and broke into a run toward the horror unfolding. The savannah stretched before him, a golden sea under a blood-red sky, but it was no longer a place of life. It was a battlefield, a slaughter. The lions, their manes matted with blood, tore into the herd of antelope with merciless precision. Their roars shook the earth, drowning out the screams of the dying. Quay's heart thundered in his chest, not with fear, but with a rage that had simmered for too long. Rage at the predators who took and took, leaving only bones and grief in their wake. Lyra stood frozen at the edge of the chaos, her wide eyes reflecting the carnage. She clutched a woven basket, now spilled, its contents of gathered roots trampled into the dirt. "Quay!" she cried, her voice a fragile thread in the storm of violence. He didn't stop to answer. His legs pumped, his breath ragged as he charged toward the nearest lion, its jaws clamped around a struggling antelope's throat. The spear flew from his hand, a streak of vengeance. It struck true, piercing the lion's flank. The beast roared, releasing its prey, and turned its amber eyes on Quay. For a moment, time slowed. The savannah held its breath. Then the lion lunged. Quay rolled to the side, drawing his short blade, the one their father had forged before the predators took him too. The lion's claws raked the air where Quay had stood. But he was faster, driven by a fire that burned deeper than fear. He drove the blade into the lion's neck, and the beast collapsed, its roar fading to a gurgle. But the savannah was not done with its cruelty. More lions emerged from the tall grass, their eyes glinting with hunger. Quay's chest heaved, his body slick with sweat and blood not his own. He saw Lyra running toward him, her face pale but resolute. "Stay back," he shouted, but she didn't listen. She never did. She grabbed a fallen branch, wielding it like a club, her small frame trembling with defiance. "Quay, we fight together," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. He wanted to argue, to protect her, but there was no time. The lions circled, their growls a low, menacing chorus. Beyond them, other predators stirred, hyenas cackling in the distance, a leopard's shadow slinking through the grass. The savannah itself seemed to conspire against them, a world where only the cruel survived. Quay's anger erupted, a volcano of grief and fury. He thought of their parents, their village, their friends, all taken by claws and teeth over the years. He thought of the nights he and Lyra had huddled in the dark, listening to the predators' howls, praying they'd pass by. No more. He would not cower. He would not lose Lyra, too. He fought like a man possessed. Another lion charged, and Quay met it head-on, driving his blade into its chest. The beast's weight nearly crushed him, but he pushed it off, roaring his own defiance. Lyra swung her branch, striking a hyena that had crept too close, sending it yelping into the grass. Together, they were a storm, a force of human will against the savannah's endless hunger. The predators kept coming. A leopard leapt from the shadows, its claws raking Quay's arm. Pain seared through him, but he spun, slashing its throat. Hyenas darted in, snapping at his legs, but Lyra's screams and wild swings kept them at bay. Quay lost count of the beasts he felled. Lions, hyenas, a jackal that dared to lunge. Each kill fueled his rage, each drop of blood a tribute to those he'd lost. The savannah became a graveyard, littered with the bodies of predators, their reign of terror broken by a man who had nothing left to lose. But the cost was heavy. Quay's strength waned, his wounds bleeding freely. Lyra's breath came in gasps, her arms trembling from the weight of her makeshift weapon. The savannah was vast, and its predators endless. Quay knew they couldn't fight forever. He looked at Lyra, her face streaked with dirt and tears, and saw the same realization in her eyes. They couldn't outrun the savannah's cruelty, but they could defy it one last time. Quay stumbled to a patch of dry grass, his vision blurring. He pulled a flint from his pouch, the one he'd carried since their father taught him to make fire. "Lyra," he said, his voice hoarse but resolute. "Help me." She understood instantly. They gathered tinder, dry grass, broken branches, piling it high. The remaining predators watched from a distance, wary but still hungry, their eyes glowing in the dusk. Quay struck the flint, sparks catching the tinder. Flames leapt up, hungry and wild, mirroring the fire in his heart. He and Lyra fed the blaze, tossing in more grass, more wood, until it roared like a living thing. The fire spread, racing across the savannah, consuming the tall grass, the trees, the hiding places of the predators. The lions fled, their roars drowned by the crackle of flames. Hyenas scattered, their cackles turning to whimpers. The savannah burned, a cleansing inferno that carried Quay's rage to every corner of the land. He and Lyra ran, the heat scorching their backs. They found a rocky outcrop, a refuge above the flames, and huddled there with a handful of trembling creatures. A young antelope, a pair of hares, a small bird with singed wings. Non-predators, survivors like them. The fire raged below, painting the sky orange and black, a funeral pyre for the savannah's cruelty. As the flames died to embers, Quay and Lyra sat in silence, their hands clasped tightly. The savannah was a smoldering ruin, its predators gone or scattered. The air was thick with ash, but it carried a strange stillness, a peace Quay hadn't felt in years. They had lost everything, their home, their family, their world, but they had each other. And in the eyes of the surviving animals, Quay saw a flicker of hope, a chance to rebuild. He looked at Lyra, her face illuminated by the dying firelight. "We're still here," he said softly. She nodded, a small smile breaking through her exhaustion. "We're still here," she echoed. The savannah would heal in time. New grass would grow, new life would stir. And Quay and Lyra, with their unlikely companions, would walk into that new world, carrying their scars, but also their strength. The predators had taken much, but they could not take their will to survive. Subscribe now, or I'll take your phone and never give it back to you.